Hello, my name is Hannah Lucas. I will be teaching a lesson on Child of the Flower Song People for Visual Language Arts for grade 5. This is a mixed classroom. There are about 20 general education students, 5 gifted and talented students, 5 other language learners, and 3 students with other abilities. The standards for this lesson are Indiana State Standards Visual Arts, collaboratively set goals and create artwork that is meaningful and has purpose to the makers. And for reading comprehension, describe 2 or more characters, settings, or events in a story or play, drawing on specific details in the text and how they impact the plot. I will only be teaching a segment of this lesson, so the first part is going to be the presentation on the book pre-reading, which is a big part of one of our principles of reading, is our pre-reading activity where we're going to be looking at the cover of the book. We're going to be going through some of the different aspects of the book, and we're going to be going through some of the vocabulary. So we're going to be working on vocabulary recognition specifically while viewing a text that contains multi-syllabic foreign words, and this is going to highlight word recognition and language comprehension. These are going to be paramount to effectively teaching the science of reading principles within this lesson. The objective for this lesson, students will use creative artistic expression to create an informative diorama drawing on events or characters from Child of the Flower Song People, graded against a rubric scoring at least 7 out of 10. The students will also be receiving their rubric at the end of this lesson. This will not be shown because, of course, there are no students in this classroom, right? Not a live classroom. All right, so we're going to start off by taking a book walk. And so basically we're going to go through the book from the cover to the back. We're going to look through the pictures. We're going to ask the students questions on the different aspects of the book. So we're going to start off there and we'll be addressing the class. Okay, so all right, we're going to start with the cover and we're going to make inferences based on what we see on the cover. All of the students will also have a copy of Child of the Flower Song People, so they'll be able to be looking at the book while we're talking about the book on the PowerPoint. So we're looking at the book cover right now. What does the cover look like? And so we're going to give them some time to look at the cover and talk amongst their small groups on what they're gathering from this cover right now. And then we're going to move on. I'm going to instruct the students to flip through the book, not reading any of the words right now. We're just flipping through the book, mostly just viewing the pictures, viewing the art styles within the book, and just looking through that and making inferences. What do the pictures tell you about the story is the question while we're looking through these pictures. And then we're going to move on to the vocabulary. And then we're going to go through each vocabulary word. So I'm going to read through these for the class. So first off, we have anthropologist, which means one who studies human races, societies, and cultures. And then we have atole, a porridge made of corn flour. This is going to become important in the story later, so let's make sure that we're notating all of these in our graphic organizers. And then we have Aztecs, a Mesoamerican culture that flourished from around 1300 to 1521. They are the Nahua's ancestors and consisted of several Nahuatl speaking groups. They did not use the term Aztec to refer to themselves. And then we have maguey, an agave plant. And then we have malitzin, also known as malinali, malinche, or marina. An enslaved Papaluku woman, Malitzin acted as interpreter and advisor to conquering Spaniard Hernan Cortez and gave birth to his son. Metate, flat grindstone. Popote is a broom plant. Then we have Tootli. Tootli is an extinct volcano that is one of the geographical boundaries and a symbol of Milpa Alta. There are many legends about the god it represents. Tepostun. Tepostun means child of the mountain. And then we have, finally, Xochiquicauhtli. Yeah. A Nahua word for poetry, which is translated literally as floricanto in Spanish and flower song in English. So that's going to be where our title of the book comes from. So let's maybe write that down, guys. Let's write that down, right? And then we're going to go back to our book walk after going through all of the vocabulary. Of course, I'm going to give the students some time and space to write and notate in their graphic organizers. They will be handed those at the beginning of class before they start viewing the PowerPoint. So they'll be able to write down any reflections in their graphic organizers about the book pre-reading, the book walk, and then they're also going to have space in their graphic organizers to write down the important vocab words. And of course, the PowerPoint will be on the screen for the students to view, so they'll have all of the spelling of some of these multi-syllabic foreign words. And then we're going to break those down further, of course, if anybody has any questions. Since this is not a live classroom, it's impossible to simulate what those questions might be. But anyways, we're going to leave space for that, of course, during the actual implementation of said lesson. So moving on, we're going to go back to the back cover of the book. Every aspect of this book, Child of the Flower Song People, is illustrated. Like, it is very well done, artistic expression. So we're going back to the back cover. What does the back of the book mean to you? And how do you think this is going to posit an end to this story? What do you think this reflects as the end to this story? And then finally, of course, we're all going to reflect as a class on what do you think the book will be about based on what we've seen so far in our book walk. This is going to be a really important part of the lesson, so we're going to have students speak if they feel like they would like to, ask questions, and then the teacher will be scaffolding around the room during this time. And then at this point, we're going to also introduce the project for the lesson, which is, of course, the diorama project for this overall lesson. So what that's going to look like, the students are going to be creating a diorama project. If we flip back to our objective, students will use creative artistic expression to create an informative diorama drawing on events or characters from Child of the Flower Song People, graded against a rubric, scoring at least 7 out of 10. So with that in mind, we're going to then flip to some of the different materials that we are going to be using for this diorama project. Really going to let the kids let loose here and use whatever creative mediums they feel like they would like to, and we will have a lot of those on hand at the time to showcase to some of the students during this. After going through the book walk and seeing some of these pictures and hearing about these vocab words and kind of like delving into this story without really starting to read it yet, the goal is to really get the kids excited about what the potential of this project could be. So some of the art supplies, of course, we've got like crayons, markers, construction paper, pens and pencils, colored pencils, you know, the like, and all of that. And then we've got some other mixed media aspects such as yarn, magazines, newspaper, tissue paper, maybe some like dried plants, things of that nature, like things that you wouldn't necessarily see in a classroom. And of course, we'll also open it up to bringing things in from home if you feel so inclined. Of course, you don't have to go out and spend a ton of money. Like, that's not the goal here, but like definitely going to let the kids kind of like open up their creative sides on this diorama project to encourage a little bit more artistic expression with some of our visual art standards. And then we'll be having them put together a diorama project on a poster board. So we'll have all kinds of different adhesives like glues and tape of that nature. And then, of course, can't have a project without the rubric, so the kids know kind of like the guidelines of where we're shooting for on some of these like finer notes of the project. But at that point, at this point, we'll wrap it up, and we will move on to have the kids work on their exit tickets for the class period. And then, of course, moving on to a different subject. So thank you so much. You've been wonderful. Have a wonderful evening.